you just can't hate the media enough, because according to CNN, President Trump ordering military airstrikes against Iran is not successful. This is according to a leaked top secret intel report that they don't even have a copy of. So I'm going to show you what both sides are saying in this video and then give you the bottom line.
The DIA said that it is their belief that the nuclear program has only been set back by a matter of months, and that its core elements, including the centrifuges, including the enriched uranium, they remain largely intact, according to multiple people who were briefed on this preliminary assessment. Now, as you said, that does conflict with what President Donald Trump has been saying about the fact that he believes that these strikes completely obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Something we should note, Republican Representative Michael McCall, who spoke to CNN earlier today, would not echo, saying that when he was briefed on these U.S. military plans to hit Iranian nuclear facilities, it was always the understanding that this would cause a temporary setback rather than the complete obliteration of their nuclear program. But I do just want to read a little bit of what White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told CNN when we asked her about this reporting. The White House did appear to acknowledge the existence of this assessment, but they said that they disagreed with it fundamentally. She said this alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets, total obliteration.
Yeah, so if you guys recall in the prior video, which I'll link at the end of this video, President Trump was upset at CNN for downplaying the accuracy of the B-2 bomber pilots. Well, that's where we pick up at, because now CNN is reporting that there has been a leak of top secret information that claims that we did not do any damage to Iran's nuclear sites. So I guess you'll have to make up your mind on who are you more likely to believe, and also, do you trust what their sources say? Now, what's interesting, and I'm going to use this particular profile on X, it's called Maze. You should follow this gentleman because this is amazing work. He put this up. CNN last week, U.S. intel says that Iran is years away from developing a nuclear weapon. Trump bombs Iran's nuclear facilities. CNN today. U.S. intel says that Iran's nuclear program has only been set back a few months. This is CNN, predictable as ever, and then he posts the actual two headlines. Now, here's Steve Witkoff, who went on to Laura Ingraham to set the record straight because he read these intel assessments. Take a listen.
But let me tell you for sure what happened here. There are three distinct facilities in Iran that we were concerned with. Isfahan, which is a conversion facility. You cannot weaponize unless you have what's called the conversion process at the beginning of enrichment, and then a conversion process to metallicize the material at the end of enrichment. That conversion facility, which as far as we know is the only facility in Iran that can do this, was completely destroyed at Isfahan. It's above ground. It was hit with a 30,000-pound bunker buster, and it could not survive that hit. So they have no conversion opportunity, and that means they cannot weaponize, even if they've enriched to 90%. Then there are two other nuclear reactors in Natanz, one above ground and one below ground. The below ground one we know we eviscerated, and the above ground one, which had been hit by the Israelis and had been substantially damaged, we put another bomb on top of it just to make sure that it was eviscerated, and we know for a fact it was. Fordo is the last enrichment reactor that was operating there, and we put 12 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to. And there's no doubt that it was obliterated.
Yeah, so that's what Steve Witkoff had to say, and I'm more likely to believe him over CNN any day for obvious reasons. But to back up my claim on why I believe him, I'm going to use Ground News. If you guys want to follow along, go to ground.news/Devori. This tool is going to show us exactly how the media is already pushing propaganda around this story and really what both sides are saying. And why is that important to you? So you can make up your own mind on what you believe to be true. So for example, let's look at the Huffington Post. Trump's bombing probably set Iran's nuclear program back by mere months, report says. Here's my question. How could you run a story saying that if you don't have a copy of the report? Are you guys paying attention here? You see how they're able to push this story? I thought this was journalism, people. And that's why Representative Mike Turner out of Ohio had to push back on CNN. Take a listen.
I mean, I think the reporting in the actual story itself, based on what my colleagues received, was that the scale of the effect on the intended targets here, not the entire nuclear facility.
Well, actually, that's not true. CNN is actually reporting the sites itself. Now, the Washington Post is correctly reporting, and this is what the IAEA is reporting, the International Atomic Energy Agency is reporting, and this is really where the discussion here needs to be, what then the CNN needs to be its discussion on, is that Iran's program and its nuclear sites are much greater. Sure. Washington Post is reporting there are actually 30 sites that aren't just the 3 that we attacked, that aren't just the 3 enrichment facilities that we had precision attacks on. And as the Washington Post is reporting, using the same information that CNN has been all day trying to discredit President Trump for, which, by the way, President Trump did not say the nuclear sites were destroyed.
Respectfully,
I have his statement in front of me.
I understand that. I think
and you can play it. You can play his statement.
I'm not questioning
and
what
put
he
it against
said.
your headline, and he didn't say
What I'm saying is there is a difference between how the chairman of the Joint Chiefs described the operation and how it was described by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and President Trump. My point here, and
President Trump's statement is key, not meaning all.
The DIA,
not key, not meaning all. Nuclear enrichment facilities, not as you're saying nuclear sites, have been completely and totally obliterated.
Great pushback from Mike Turner, because in the end, if you pay attention to what President Trump said, and you also pay attention to the reporting leading up to this event, it's funny how everybody's done a 180 in the media. Look at this headline from Fox News. Experts gauge success of bunker buster bombs dropped by U.S. on Iran's nuclear sites. Questions still linger about the success of the United States deployment of 75 precision-guided weapons against Iran's underground nuclear sites. And we still have questions? No, we only have questions because someone leaked information that we don't even have access to. So we just supposed to believe everything that the media says? This is why we use ground news, ladies and gentlemen. This is why you should be using it. See what they're saying, get the full picture, and then make up your mind from there. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever the information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. It could hurt lives in the future. Leaking is a completely unacceptable thing.
Now, one of the key things about this entire story that I believe to be troubling is the person who reported on it to begin with, from CNN. And her name is Natasha Bertrand. Now, what is the interesting thing about Natasha? She's the same person who reported this story. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of former intel officials say, you guys remember that? So I don't think we're going to technically buy what they are saying. And quite frankly, I don't buy anything that mainstream media says, whether it's positive or negative news in regards to President Trump. I do my own research, and that's what you guys should be doing. Because if you don't, you're going to continue to listen to people like CNN who are clearly pushing propaganda, framing the story in a particular way to diminish President Trump. And that's not just me defending him. It's just the way that they operate. It's all anti-Trump. And that's why when they brought on Senator Mullen, he had to push back on that. Take a listen.
You heard the majority leader there saying he has not seen intelligence to confirm that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated. Have you seen any of that?
Well, actually, that isn't exactly what he said. He said you need to ask the question to Tom Cotton, who sits on Intel. I'll tell you the reports that we've received is that this was a complete success. I mean, you think about this, Caitlin, and I don't understand why this is such a hard thing for CNN or other people to celebrate the victory that the United States just achieved. We had 30 Tomahawk missiles. We had 14 30,000-pound bombs delivered on target and on time. We had no detection, no boots on the ground, complete mission success with Midnight Hammer. And this is a victory that we should celebrate for the simple fact, Caitlin, that the world is safer because Iran cannot develop their nuclear weapon.
Again, let's exercise intelligence here. Can CNN criticize President Trump all day long? Absolutely. Can they second guess whether or not this mission was successful? Yes, they can. All I'm asking for is, why don't you bring the receipts? If you guys are going to push this story so hard, get a copy of the report. Prove that President Trump is truly lying. Just don't come out and say verbally, according to sources. Now, what's interesting during that exchange is also the complaint that the intelligence meeting that was supposed to take place today in the Senate was postponed because the president obviously is overseas participating in the NATO summit. And of course, that means that Democrats are losing their minds over it.
What are they afraid of?
Is it in fact the case that Iran's nuclear program has been completely and totally obliterated? There apparently are reasons to believe that that was a blatant misrepresentation.
So Speaker Mike Johnson, however, thinks that the administration is just very busy.
There's a lot going on right now, and I'm sure the Situation Room in the White House is a flurry of activity, and I think it may be that some of the folks that were going to come over here and brief us have been or otherwise engaged. That's my conjecture. I don't know that for sure.
Earlier today, Fox learned the briefing was delayed so that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio could attend. Right now, they are overseas at the NATO summit. This all comes amid an ongoing debate about whether or not President Trump should have sought congressional authority for those strikes on Iran. Multiple Democrats are calling for Trump's impeachment, and that includes squad member AOC.
I think that the President of the United States admitting that he unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional.
But there are others on the left, Brett, that are siding with Trump on these strikes.
I think this was the right decision. It was clear and decisive in the right action.
What do you say to your conference that's calling for impeachment here?
No, that's, that's a big threshold to cross, I would say to them. That don't be. Yes, it's probably wrong for the president not to come to Congress, but let's just change that.
Yeah, and what Nancy Pelosi said there at the end is the most profound clip out of everything I just showed you. And it's my main criticism for people who spend all day long criticizing President Trump. And this is something you might want to tell people you're associated with who also disagree with you or President Trump, is that if you guys truly believe that he is doing the wrong thing as it pertains to deportations, immigration, ICE, military airstrikes against Iran, all of it, why have you not put forth a piece of legislation to change the laws? You spend all day complaining, fear-mongering, coming up with these wild accusations, but you haven't put forth a piece of legislation to codify what you want to fix. I don't get it. Now, the only thing that I'm left to conclude is just political theater. And it's a habit that they have fallen into, which is just to complain all day long and not actually be a part of the solution. And what's more important here is that you think for yourself by understanding that after a military airstrike, you're not going to have all the intelligence that you want. That takes time. It takes physical people going there and verifying the intelligence, okay? That's number one. Number two, it doesn't take a rocket science to conclude that the damage has to be severe given the amount of bombs and the type of bombs. But again, according to their leaked top secret assessment, it did no damage. Tell me how that makes sense. Now, here's Mick Mulvaney on Cuomo echoing the same point. Take a listen.
On an ordinary day, Donald Trump could say everything about everything. But if you listen to him long enough, he'll tell you what he really believes. And one of the things he really believes in immigration reform. He really believes in our friends overseas paying for their own defense. And he really believes that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And that's what I think is missing here. Their program is over. Whether or not we destroyed it over the weekend or we're going to get a chance to go in and destroy it later on as part of the peace discussion, it's finished. The Iranians are going to have to either come to the table and show us. We're going to have human intelligence as to what happened in those facilities, because that's going to be part of the peace discussion. Donald Trump is not going to leave Iran until he knows the nuclear program is dead. And it's either going to die through the peace process or there's going to be additional military action, one way or the other. That's why I know there's a great wailing and gnashing of teeth right now on the left and the right as to whether or not the bombing on Saturday was successful. I look at it differently. Donald Trump is going to get the end that he wants here, which is no nuclear weapons in Iran. And whether or not he gets it with more military in the future or through a discussion doesn't really make any difference. The die is cast on that, Chris. Look, and I think we'll look back at this period 6 weeks from now or 6 years from now and say this was the day that things turned in the Middle East because of that.
And the other disturbing thing that isn't getting the attention it deserves is how disrespectful the reporting is around this to the servicemen and women who participated not only in the planning, but the execution of this operation, particularly the pilots. It's as if they didn't know what they were doing, that they missed the target. It's just fascinating how Democrats can't bring themselves to applaud our military soldiers. But what they're doing instead is making it all about impeaching President Trump and making it all about this leaked intel report that they don't even have a copy of, by the way.
Why can't the Democrats just say, God bless our soldiers? I mean, at least give them credit. You don't have to give it to the commander-in-chief. I know that's very difficult. I had a hard time doing it when Barack Obama took out Osama bin Laden. But at least you say, you know, way to go, Air Force. Way to go, U.S. Navy.
Yeah, but they don't appreciate what the Pentagon and the military's for, which is battlefield efficacy. Remember, under their leadership the last 4 years, we were down 45,000 troops, recruitments. And there was a reason for that. The demographic that goes to god-awful places like Fallujah and Helmand Province and dies at twice their numbers in the demographic, they were demonizing and they were pushing DEI down their throat. If they didn't get a vaccination, they kicked them out. They had no affinity for it. And that demographic feels now that it's a fair level playing field and they want to go back. They don't think there'll be a Kabul anymore. There's going to be deterrence. And they don't like that. They don't like what the Pentagon is designed for, and that is to defend America and restore and enhance deterrence. For them, it's a social institution that doesn't have the problems with Congress or debates or shouting. They can just use the chain of command and bam, 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 DEI, transgendered, women in pregnant flight suits.
Yeah, it's no question that the recruiting numbers have changed because of President Trump. His policy decisions, they make a huge difference, okay? And the fact of the matter is results tell the story. And this is why I don't trust anything the media says, because I'm looking at the results. I want to see supporting documentation. I want to see the physical report. Can you show us that? Now, we know they won't do it because, again, they're in the business of anti-Trump. And by being anti-Trump, whatever credibility they have, it's gone. That's why people don't listen to them. Now, we play the clips because I want you to be in the know about what they're saying, because I know you're going to encounter people in your life who are literally going to repeat what CNN just said. And the number one question you should be asking them is, have you seen the report yourself? And that's why I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below, because this story is outrageous to begin with. What do you think? Do you think the mission was a success? Do you think, given the amount of bombs, the type of bombs that were dropped, and where they were dropped, do you think it was a success or there was no damage at all? According to this top secret leaked intel report. Just give me all your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, so moving on here, you guys can check out this next video, because once again, Democrats are suffering failure. Because Representative Al Green, the gentleman who keeps claiming that he's going to file articles of impeachment against President Trump, he did do that. And guess what? The House of Representatives voted on it. So if you missed out on what that vote was and what happened, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.